Kane. Senator Budd.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you both for being here today. Secretary Driscoll, it's great to see you again. Thanks for being in North Carolina in a very patriotic event with your family and supporting the Army in North Carolina. So I want to bring up something that you said yesterday during the testimony with the House Armed Services Committee. And then I've heard it referenced a little bit this morning in your opening comments and in your response to Senator Ernst's question. You mentioned about learning from overflights with drones and the training at Fort Jackson. I think that's excellent. So thank you for sharing that. We've all seen the stories coming out from Russia, how the Ukrainians have yet again showed boldness and initiative in Operation Spiderweb. And we applaud them, but it makes me think, how do we make sure that we don't become the victims in a similar situation against us? And how do we make sure that we're defending ourselves against potential enemy drone attacks? We've talked about offensive operations, but less about troop protection. So if you would talk about the Army keeping pace in drone and counter-drone technology, and how do we make sure that we protect our troops at home and abroad from these threats?
Thanks for the question, Senator Budd. And just to close out with Senator Kane, I will reflect on your remarks. If any of the families are listening, we are absolutely devastated by that outcome. If anything we are saying sounds like callous legalese, it's not intended to be. So thank you for sharing that, and I commit to reflecting and following up. Senator Budd, air and missile defense is, when we see our air defenders, and we saw them in the Middle East, we say with a very straight face that they are the new tip of the spear. The way that warfare is changing and what we saw with Operation Spiderweb in Russia and the sheer volume of damage, I think our estimate is for sub $20,000 in cost, they took out up to, call it 10-ish billion in assets, and we would face that same problem. It is one of the challenges of our lifetime as an Army to figure this out. We are testing all sorts of different solutions, from the smallest being just shooting a 50 caliber round, the highest being we have ground-based interceptors that are based in Alaska and are a lot more expensive. We have things in the middle like directed energy, which require kind of different power grids and different ways of thinking about delivering and storing power. We're doing all sorts of experiments with our soldiers. We were just with a company yesterday who is part of Operation Spiderweb in Ukraine and hearing about how they participated in it. And we said immediately, like, we've got to figure out how to get this technology into our soldiers' hands this summer so that we can start to learn, because it was obviously so effective there. And so I guess in summary, what we're trying to do is test as many things as we possibly can, and then work with this committee once we find the ones that are working to scale them as quickly as possible.
Thank you for that. General George, it was reported last year that the Army intended to raise a 5th multi-domain task force, and then it would be stationed in Fort Bragg, North Carolina, with the plan to be fully operational by fiscal year 2028. So the question is that still on track? And in a broader sense, how will the Army Transformation Initiative affect that force structure of the MDTF units?
Yeah, I would tell you, Senator, that those plans are still on track. These are capabilities that we know we're going to need. Now, I mean, all of the things for multi-domain effects that we're going to have to do, to include the counter-UAS that you were just talking about. So that's definitely a capability that we're going to need and continue to grow.
So I want to, continuing, General George, I want to applaud the Army's investment in its next generation C2, or command and control program, which will take advantage of software solutions to give real-time data to commanders so they can make decisions better and faster than our adversaries. So what's the status of Next Gen C2, and where has it succeeded, and where can it improve?
I think if you were going to ask the Secretary or I, we're very encouraged by what we're doing. I think we know that we have to change how we pass data, move data, based on how you can be seen anywhere on this planet. We just saw out in when we were out in at the National Training Center, the concept, it works, and so we're now looking to scale it. We will have a division that's doing it this summer. we just want to go faster. I mean, and that's our press. We just did a warfighter over in Europe, and I know General Donahue. We just were up on the net with his team. This is transforming the network from theater all the way down to the tactical level, and we have to do as much as we can to go faster.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Senator.